Whichever idiot decided to set Frankenstein's full release for the Friday after Halloween might be the dumbest person of 2025. Being able to throw this movie on Halloween, right as the sun's going down and the trick-or-treaters start making their rounds, would have immediately made this movie 1 or 2 points better. We know the movie was ready, it hit select theaters weeks before. So nothing but pure stupidity kept Frankenstein from being available to the general public for Halloween. Now I'm starting off hot, but that complete incompetence with the scheduling aside, I really don't have many more complaints with Frankenstein. The classic tale of man trying to play God was given the high quality, polished, gothic, epic film approach it's long deserved. All of the themes central to Mary Shelley's story are present, and there were even some new ideas and themes woven into the intricate tale of Victor Frankenstein, largely to good effect. Frankenstein's creature's portrayal was more akin to his literary counterpart, with his burgeoning intelligence central to his character, rather than casting him as a mindless monster, hacking and slashing his way through the story just to create a spectacle to put butts in seats. True to the novel, Frankenstein is a dark exploration of man playing God, of social ostracization, of humanity, of life and of death, and of rejection at the hands of your very creator, a condemnation of your very existence. It's a story of the human experience as lived by something not fully human, and it's a story that's been ripe for adaptation and exploration for over 200 years. And from the very talented cast to a very thematic, cohesive visual identity that fit the movie extremely well, this story, much like Frankenstein's creature, felt very much alive.
It's alive! It's alive!
But I'm not going to talk your ear off with this video, as I'd honestly rather give you more time to go watch it for yourself if you have any interest. We're going to get into spoilers, but there's not a whole lot to spoil from a 200-year-old book. There are some real departures, but the bones of the story are largely the same. So let's get right into the breakdown, which means spoilers will be striking like lightning. We begin in the frozen North Sea, where a Danish expedition finds Victor Frankenstein in a bad way. They hurry Victor to their ship, where Frankenstein is disappointed to find that the ship full of Danish he was promised was referring to the sailors and not a boatload of pastries. Pursued by a massive, superhuman creature, Victor tells the captain his tale, unnecessarily rewinding all the way to his childhood. Victor tells of his harsh father's strict teachings and of the love he had for his mother, a love that birthed in Victor a new resolve and purpose when she died, as he vowed to conquer death. Later in life, Frankenstein meets Herr Harlander, who wants to bankroll Victor's pursuits, so he gets set up in an ominous, gothic-looking tower from which to conduct his experiments. When he's not sending his brother away so he can surreptitiously spend time with his brother's fiancée Elizabeth, Victor is collecting body parts, including the longest dong he can procure to construct a 6'5" Chad. When lightning strikes, the time is nigh, and Victor sets about animating his creation. But his ailing benefactor, Harlander, interferes, wanting Victor to put him in the monster. Victor denies him this, and they wrestle, and in the scuffle, Harlander slips and falls to his death beside the creature, which is also not showing any signs of life. Defeated, Victor goes to bed, only to be awoken by his creature. It quickly learns to say the name Victor, the name of its creator, but much to Victor's ire, the creature never seems to learn anything else. When Victor's attempts to beat intelligence into the creature as his father did him fail, he decides to destroy his creation. And at the last minute, when he changes his mind, it's too late and the tower erupts, but the creature manages to escape. Back in the present, the creature makes its way into the captain's quarters aboard the ship to tell his side of the story. After escaping the inferno, the creature ended up living rent-free in the walls of a family's home, where it learned to read and speak, gaining through love and compassion what Victor could not beat into him, intelligence. That's a nice notion and all, but it doesn't explain the Asian mom approach to educating kids. Anyway, the creature tracks down Frankenstein, his creator who rejected him, at his brother's wedding, asking for only one thing: a companion. For if the creature cannot live as a human and cannot be granted the grace of death, then he only asks to not go through life alone. But Victor rejects the notion out of hand, and the creature indulges in rage, which eventually leads to Victor accidentally killing Elizabeth. When the creature flees, Victor pursues him to the ends of the earth, leading us to the present in the North Sea aboard the ship. There, a grievously wounded Victor finally apologizes to the creature, who in turn comforts Victor during his last moments. Then the creature pushes the ship out of the ice and remains behind to live out the rest of his life cold and alone. The end. My favorite theme present in Frankenstein doesn't have to do with Victor's representation of man playing God, but rather with taking on the creature's perspective and trying to understand the creature's experience with his very creator. Victor Frankenstein is the creature's god. He was personally designed, molded, and brought to life by Victor. And then, in his mind, he's blessed with not only life, but he's beloved by Victor at first. He gets to be near him. He gets to learn directly from him, directly from God. And on the other side of the coin, any chastisement or rejection the creature receives from Victor is akin to a condemnation from God himself. The sheer magnitude that these interactions that the creature has with Victor have, because of the relationship Victor has to the creature, to me, is such an interesting, weighty dynamic. This is alluded to when Victor complains that all the creature can say is his name, and Elizabeth says to him, well, to him, that one word means everything. This dynamic just makes even the smallest interaction between the two an existential, life-altering event. Now, of course, I also really like the exploration of man playing God and asking who's the real monster, the innocent monster unwillingly brought to life, or the man who profaned God by trying to take life and death into his own hands. Those themes are very much present and well accounted for in Frankenstein. And I think this movie does a good job of not beating you over the head with any of its themes. It introduces each major theme we've touched on, along with some others, and it'll touch on them again here and there. But it doesn't harp on any one of them or beat the idea into the ground. It does a very good job of leaving the importance or prevalence of each theme or idea up to you. The movie doesn't force any perspective on you, and it leaves the door open for you, the viewer, to add weight to any theme or idea as you see fit. Two people can watch this movie and come away from it thinking that one theme or another was the most dominant one in the film, and they can both be right. The way Frankenstein presented and explored its themes lets you explore the ideas on your own, and it encourages you to do so. And if you really like some of the themes in Frankenstein, you could easily find yourself thinking about the movie in different ways long after the credits have rolled. I love that approach to storytelling, and there's really nothing more engaging than letting viewers take kind of their own experience away from the movie. It's a far cry from a lot of the big movies we get these days. As for how this adaptation stacks up against Shelley's novel, this movie hits most of the broader story beats, not all, but in the minutiae, there's quite a bit of variation from the book. Just like in the 1818 novel, Victor Frankenstein was spurred to create life by the death of his mother. Victor had an initial fear of the creature, although there is some variance there. The creature learned from a family while hidden in their home, he learned the true nature of his origins, he grows angry with humanity, and he beseeches Victor to create for him a companion. He's also pursued by Victor into the Arctic and mourns Victor at his death. But there are some pretty significant changes. This movie puts a lot of weight on the influence Victor's father had on him. Victor didn't flee immediately after the creature came to life as he did in the book. He didn't spend all this time trying to teach the creature. In the book, the creature's killing of William was deliberate and calculated. Victor does agree to create a companion for the creature, but destroys her afterward for fear that the two would reproduce, and this is the major catalyst for the creature's rage. And in the film, it's Victor who's marrying Elizabeth, and it's the creature who kills her on her wedding day. So, yes, in general, this movie has the same bones as the original tale, but there are some pretty big changes, some of which flip some of the character dynamics on their heads. There wasn't a weak spot to be found among the cast. The entire visual identity of this movie was fantastic, from the sets to the locations to the costumes, all the way to just the color scheme, the gothic themes, and the ominous visual tone. It all had a very distinct, very cohesive look and feel to it that I felt fit this movie extremely well. Some of the lines of dialogue went hard, like really hard. Now, I think some of the dialogue could have used some tweaking, and at a few points, this movie could have been hitting like a truck if the dialogue was just a wee bit more pointed or weighty. But it's a minor nitpick, and the dialogue is not a weak point of the movie. The only real negatives with this movie are twofold. First off, the first 45 minutes of this movie could have been about 5 minutes. I didn't feel really invested in this movie until the lightning struck about an hour in. Now, there was a real turning point right around the hour mark where I had a palpable feeling like, okay, this movie just sucked me in a hurry. But the beginning of the movie could have been tightened up. That being said, I think it's fair that an epic tale like Frankenstein be given all the time it needs. And the second thing I take major umbrage with is the timing of the release. I don't care if I sound like a broken record, but whoever missed the opportunity to release this movie for or on Halloween should be tarred and feathered and demoted to working on Season 5 of The Witcher. The movie hasn't been available to the larger public yet, but so far Frankenstein is getting pretty universal praise. At the time of this writing, it's getting a 95% from the audience on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's sitting at a 7.8 on Metacritic. As for me, Frankenstein is definitely getting the Great Watch label, and I think it's worth your time. I'd give it something like a 7.5 or 8. Now, I've spent the last 2 weeks dragging Netflix for The Witcher Season 4 and The Rats, but Frankenstein was a win for them. Except, of course, for the absolute stupidity that saw the movie released after Halloween. But I liked this movie, and I think I maybe liked the idea of this movie even more. So I hope Frankenstein will inspire more serious movies on characters like Frankenstein, Dracula, and other stories from the classic monsterverse. Are you planning on checking out Frankenstein? Would you prefer this movie had a full theatrical release? Let us know in the comments below. And remember to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to Hatewatchers for reviews of other current shows and movies. Thank you for playing God with me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.